And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are again for another episode of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
Opinions.
opinions. It's become like tradition for me to just repeat the word opinions after you say it at this point. I think I've done that every single time.
It's a word that holds a lot of value.
It does hold a lot of value.
You got to say it 3 times.
But anyway, so my name is Adam Hansen, and across from me I have...
Matthew Lynn. Hello.
And I know right now it feels like those introductions are redundant. Is that the
You
word?
got it.
Redundant.
Yep, you're nailing it, bro.
But eventually we're going to have other people on and we'll be like, oh, and we also have this person with us today. So just stay tuned to that.
Bear with us.
There's a
We're
reason.
getting there.
As always, I'm just going to remind you guys, you can find this episode on SoundCloud, as well as we all still have the GoFundMe going for the next, I think like 20 days or something like that, 25 days.
Yeah, running out of time, guys.
And running out of time, guys. Put money in that jar. That's GoFundMe.com/Hardly Millennial. Thank you. We love you. And let's get started today.
All right.
We have some good things we've written down here today.
Can I just start with a little something here?
Sure.
I just want to tell you that I feel like a hot apple pie this morning.
A hot apple pie.
I feel like a hot, steamy apple pie with those little, like, sugary granules on top, you know,
Yeah.
the kind everyone loves. That's what I'm feeling like today.
And why are you feeling that way, Matthew?
Well, see, I'm no longer burdened with subpar gas station coffee. As you all will know in the future, by watching our vlog videos, which are soon to come, sneak peek, guys, I have a Keurig. I broke it out. I've been drinking it, and I'm happy.
Yeah. I would just like to point out there is gas station coffee next to Matthew.
No, that one doesn't count.
Currently.
That's actually Keurig coffee. It's just in that cup. Yeah, you don't even know.
You don't even know. Well, I'm happy that you're happy with your Keurig
Oh, it's got me
coffee.
bubbling up inside. Yeah. Also, I just, I don't know, I woke up and the first thing I saw was just this single ray of sunlight that came through my window.
Yeah.
And it like hit me right in the retina of the eye. But no, in like a beautiful way.
Oh, okay.
Like the heavens shining down on just me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a good way to start the day.
I thankfully caught up on a little, not all of the sleep. I still feel like I could catch up on more, but I did catch up on a little bit of sleep last night.
Well, that's good. You were tired.
Oh my gosh, I was so tired, dude. Like even more so than I expected myself to be.
Well, you've been doing all those editing sessions, man.
Yeah, a lot of it. Literally all free time, guys, that I'm not at my day job is gone to Hardly Millennial. And apparently yesterday my body was just like, bro, chill.
You need to sleep.
Because we did a podcast yesterday and then I had planned on doing more editing. But dude, I was just so tired. I just laid on the couch and was just dozing in and out of sleep. And then...
He wouldn't even play Kingdom Hearts, guys.
Yeah,
He was too tired for it.
I knew I would just fall asleep during playing it. So I was
That's
just
saying
like,
something.
oh, my
I've seen this
word.
man play that game at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I can get pretty into it, but I just needed to catch up, and hopefully I'll be able to catch up a little more tonight, and then by the weekend just be really solid to go again for another week until that happens
Another
again.
week. It's okay, Adam. It's only the rest of our lives.
It's only the rest of our lives, so I'll get used to it, is what you're telling me.
For sure.
So, but no, it's good though. I feel good this morning. I do feel good. I felt pretty groggy yesterday. Even during our podcast, I was kind of groggy in and out.
Really? I
but-
thought you nailed it, man.
Oh man, well I definitely pushed through it, but I was tired. I was definitely tired. I just had such a foggy brain, man.
That's the first time that you've said that,
But-
that you were subpar in a podcast.
Oh,
you guys
man.
go back and check that one out and let us know in the comments if you notice a difference with Adam.
Let me know if you even noticed, because I definitely felt like I noticed, but that's just because it's me. So who knows?
I listened to it like 4 times. I thought it was great.
I listened to it like 10 times.
Oh,
I really didn't.
I was
but-
gonna say. I don't think I think you're lying.
So what do we have as topics today, Matthew? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's see. How should we start this off? How about a little bit of opinion action to start this off? We're big on those.
Okay, what do you got for us?
So I have, here's a fun one, actually. Okay, so everyone knows about video games, right? We all
Right.
love video
Most
games.
people,
Big
I
part
feel
of our
like.
life. So the new thing, well, not really new, but over the last few years, in my opinion, what games have started to develop as a strategy is all
Right.
this DLC, right?
Yes,
we all know what it is,
DLC.
guys. Downloadable content, right? I got that right?
I think so.
Nailed
I think
it.
that's what it is.
Yes. So what these companies are doing is we used to get like a different game every year or two, right?
Right.
And they would just keep it going. They'd be like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, 7, 9, 15, right? They just keep going.
Right.
Now they're like, for an example, okay, this doesn't really exist, but they'd be like Resident Evil World. And if you want to go to the different places in the world, you got to download those things. You got to pay for the downloads.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15, I think, is a pretty notable title to do that a lot. Because I love the Final Fantasy games, right? So, and I bought the newest one that came out, which was a couple years ago. So that a couple years ago is when I played it. But I played it, I beat it. I feel like I did a lot of the extra stuff that was in there. And there's so much DLC now to where it's almost like the main story of the game doesn't even really matter. I feel like that's what's happening with games right now, because I've heard that. I haven't beat Kingdom Hearts 3 yet because I'm taking my time with it, because I want to 100% that game. I don't really 100% games, but I do want to do that.
It's an ambitious goal.
It is, but an attainable one. But what I've heard about Kingdom Hearts 3 is that if you just play it for the story and you go straight through and just do the story run of it, it's actually a short game. But if you take the time to go do all the extra stuff that's involved, it becomes a longer game, which I personally don't like that. I don't like that.
Really?
Because I just feel like you're sacrificing story for more game content instead of making the game content the story. So a perfect example of a game that I feel does that is Zelda Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So they say, here's the story, here's what you have to do, and the whole game, and you can go fight the final boss whenever you want in that game.
Right. Good luck. You can get there.
But the whole content of it is you have all these extra things to do because you can level up in different ways, get different items, do different things that'll help you complete the final goal. And Kingdom Hearts 3 kind of has that a little bit. Every game kind of has that a little bit. But it makes the main storyline in Zelda seem like a much longer and a much more intricate thing. Whereas a lot of these DLCs are like, oh, we added this new world for you to go and have fun with. Or we added these mini games in it.
So should those DLCs that do that are like, here's 20 hours of a new world, should they put a little more thought into it, make it 60 hours and make it a new game? Or do you like the idea of all these little pieces that are cheaper?
I think it all depends on the game. I think what game companies have issues with, and what a lot of big companies have issues with, it all becomes about money, right? How can we get the most money?
Well, yeah, you gotta make the bread, man.
And I understand that, but I also believe that if you want to make people are going to buy into games more that are more well put together, and there's that kind of thought that is put into it, right?
Absolutely.
So with games like Final Fantasy 15, one of the things I really hate about games, and Final Fantasy 15 was this, and this is definitely much more modern.
That's the one,
games.
the newer one, where you're in the car all the time.
Yes, and the desert, and
I played that game.
When I played it through, I got to the final boss, and the final boss wasn't even a challenge. And these are things that I experience with more and more modern games, where it's like you get to this final boss and there's a secret boss that's more challenging than that boss.
Yeah, the final boss should be like the big kahuna.
Or like Final Fantasy 15 specifically did this thing where, and this is a spoiler, but it's been out for a few years, so
it's
get
not that
on
great
it, guys.
Anyway, don't worry.
It's not the best of the Final Fantasy games, although people would definitely argue with me about that.
Oh, wow.
But one of the aspects of the game was the main character had this power where you could basically summon these weapons, these swords.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you could basically, what happens when you fight the final boss is you go into God mode, and you can access like all 12 of these special weapons.
You used to need to have a cheat code to get to God mode, remember?
Right.
If you didn't want to die, you had to type that in or whatever.
Well, it's not saying that that this mode meant that I don't even know if that's what the mode was called, but it was just when you were fighting the final boss, you got to this point to where you could access all 12 swords that you could collect throughout the game.
Oh, I see
right?
what you mean. You were just like super powerful.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
And it may not have been 12 swords, it may have been less, the number might be different. But the point is, you get to this point in the game where you're trying to go to these different places within the game and collect these swords, right? So, but it really angered me. I was just like, why the fuck did you do this? Because at the end of the game, let's say you went through the game and you only collected 3 of the swords, right? That was it. Let's say there were 12 of them, you collected 3 of them.
Okay.
At the end, when you get to that point where he can access all these swords, it still allows you to use all the swords.
Oh, what's the point of that?
Exactly.
Why even collect anything?
Exactly. So they make the only point of getting the swords throughout the game is, I guess, A, if you want to, have that 100%, completion rate on the game, or 2, you can access those swords as you're playing the game from that point on. But it would have made it more challenging to be like, oh, okay, I can only get 3 of the swords, and this guy, the final boss, kicks my ass with only 3. So now I have to go back and try to find a few more, and it makes the game more challenging like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that's kind of why I think that these interactive movie games, ones where like it's really just a story and you can walk through
and becoming human, and
Detroit Become Human, stuff like that. I think that those are really going to start to take off, like big time. And there will definitely be 2 separate things, because there's a certain group of people who love to play games. They love to play shooters and platformers and all, puzzle games. But most people that I'm noticing, like the majority anymore, prefers to just have an interactive story that they run through. So much so that I'm seeing a lot of games. I watch a lot of Let's Plays, and their strategy games now coming out with story mode. So literally, like, if you die in battle, you just pop right back up and can keep fighting. Like, it takes all of the gameplay out of it.
Really?
And it's literally just story mode. I've seen like 2 or 3 really long games now that have that option.
Interesting.
I think most people just want to make the choices for the characters and see what happens.
Yeah.
Myself included. I came from a time, Fred Flintstone days, where everyone played the game. Like, people used to say it's so silly to watch someone play a video game. Why would you ever do that? And I remember I was one of the first in my group of friends who really started to get into like Let's Plays and watching games. I was always the most amazing friend to play games with because I never fought over the controller.
Right.
I'd always be like, nah, you can play, dude. I just want to watch. And people thought I was crazy. But now I think it's more popular to watch the games than to even play them.
Well, and the thing is, I don't think there was ever a time where it wasn't popular to watch somebody play a video game. What I think people, especially older generations, don't understand now is the platform of which we do it. So, I mean, what was happening even when you and I were younger and somebody was playing a video, you went over to a friend's house, even if they had a video game that was multiplayer, if there were 6 of you, it was 2 of you playing and the other 4 were sitting there watching them play.
You would call out, I get winner.
Yeah.
You have to wait. And
so
then play.
people, and you don't think our parents or their parents were doing that with Pong? When Pong came out and shit? Like, so people have always enjoyed watching others play video games. It's just the video games have become more intricate now, and there's a separate platform that's specifically for that now that people don't understand because that's what they see as different. So really it just comes back to, well, you guys should just hang out in person. It's like, well, we don't have to. We can just watch this guy play a video game.
Absolutely. And you don't spend the money on the game.
Right.
You still get to see all of the different fun things in the game. And on top of that, you get this community around you, which even though they're not actually physically there, you have like instant access to saying anything to anyone in chat, and you can talk to the person playing the game. He'll talk back to you. So you get all that extra bonus on top of the entertainment of the game.
Exactly. And I am somebody who enjoys watching Let's Plays because, look, I am somebody of an extreme personality, so when I get into something, I get really into
you're
it.
Kidding. I had noticed.
Matt's rolling his eyes, if you guys can't see.
I had no idea.
Well, you guys can't see. But anyways, so but because of that, I've always had to limit myself to like one or two video games a year that I really want to actually sit down and play and experience the actual playthrough of it.
Right.
But I'm also somebody who likes to stay current on current movies, current video games, just current on anything, pop culture.
Yeah.
And the Let's Plays out there allow me to do that. A perfect example is RimWorld, right? Matthew got me into Let's Plays of this game, RimWorld.
Adam loves RimWorld.
And RimWorld's really, for those out there who don't know, RimWorld is this basically build your own colony game. But dude, there are endless things you can do with this colony. You can make them cyborgs, you can make them drug dealers, you can make it a small colony, a big colony, a peaceful colony, a violent colony.
Anything you can think of. It's been out for like almost 10 years, guys.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of add-ons and just...
Made by one guy.
There's a lot of options of what you could do. Well, it helps... Even though I've never played RimWorld, I feel like I know it well enough to be able to talk about it with people because I've watched these multiple Let's Plays now and seeing people do different things.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just me staying current. Or like you mentioned a game to me once, Matthew. It was, I think, like a PlayStation 4 downloadable game about the Viking that had like schizophrenia.
Oh,
or something.
Gosh, I forget the name of that one.
So
but yeah, it was a schizophrenic Viking.
Yeah.
And her about 8-hour journey through the forest, the jungle.
Something like
it was,
that,
It was
yeah.
intense.
But it was this game that I didn't want to download and play because I knew I would play it a lot, but I still wanted to know what it was. So I watched a Let's Play of it. So now I know about that game. So that's the beauty of these Let's Plays and everything now. And even like watching clips from movies on YouTube. There are a lot of animes out there that I would really like to sit down and watch one day, but I'd have to binge watch it because there's so much. Or I can like the page on
like
Facebook, yeah. Or I could like, yeah. Oh god, that's another story.
God, he watched that whole thing in
But
like 2 days.
I liked it. It was a great show. I thought it was
Jesus.
fantastic. But that's exactly the reason why I have to pick and choose shows I watch. So I can't sit down and watch a 500 episode anime because
No, not gonna happen.
But what I can do is watch clips from it.
Yeah.
You know, I can watch the big fight scenes, the big emotional moments, get rid of all the, excess shit. And people would argue that like, oh, that's the ADD. It's like, no, there's just so much shit out there. I can only watch so much of it. I still have a life to
crazy.
live.
Yeah.
You know?
No kidding.
And there are
Podcast
people out
night.
there who do spend their whole life watching these things or playing video games, and it doesn't exactly make for a very fulfilling life.
So, another thing I've noticed on the topic of games is I'm particularly fond of strategy games, like grand strategy.
Okay.
So you start out with like a city and you build an army and you take over the world kind of thing, right?
Okay.
And there's this particular company called Paradox out of Sweden, I believe it is.
Okay.
And they do a lot of really interesting grand strategy games that I love to watch. And all of their games are based off not an actual board game, but the concept of a board game. So the maps are
Okay.
all laid out in ways that you could actually have a big map on the floor in front of you and you could put pieces on it.
I see.
But it looks like that on a computer screen.
Okay.
But the way they do it, it does have graphics and fighting, and it's very much a video game. It doesn't look corny, but all of the rules and the concepts of it, even down to how the battles are fought, you don't see it, but within the programming, it's using dice. It's rolling dice to see who wins the fights. But the way that you view it through the
Right.
video is a fight scene.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the whole concept is a board game. And I think that board games never died. They've always been a thing. But during our parents' day, things like Monopoly, Risk, stuff like that was really big. You would sit around a board game for hours and play like this grand board game
So now there are versions of that, but just
on the computer. And during our day, there were still board games, but they became more of like an oddity, more of
Yeah.
a fun thing you do when you're drinking, or
Yeah.
Cards Against Humanity, Clue, stuff, things that are like fun and interactive to play, funny games.
People don't understand that things don't ever really go away. They always just evolve.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, look at radio. Radio has become podcasts. Theater became movies. Movies became, internet content. It's just
Yeah, it never goes away.
never goes away. It just evolves, and that was kind of my point with the Let's Plays also, right? Is people complain that, oh, people just watch other people play video games. It's like, well, You were doing that when you were younger and the internet didn't exist. People were playing games. Even if people were playing board games, if you weren't currently playing it, you were sitting
watching
there
them play.
watching them play.
Oh, yeah.
And getting into it just as much. That's all Let's Plays are. It's just done on a more grandiose scale.
Board games are totally coming back. I think so.
Yeah, I think so also. I think just the act of being more social is coming back. I've actually talked to a few people this year alone who a lot of New Year's resolutions for 2019 for people was going out more, right? Being more sociable.
Yeah.
And I've even noticed, I've watched on the internet my friends taking up these resolutions and doing just that. So I think you're going to see a big shift in the 2020s. I think more people.
20s.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is that the new 20s?
We're going to be the new 20s.
Oh, Jesus, Adam.
Dude, think about it when we're older and we have grandkids and we're going to be, we were born in the 1900s. That's what they will say. We were born in the 1900s.
No.
Yeah. Think about that,
wow.
dude.
I was too. I was born in the 1900s. Ugh.
Oh, it's wild,
That's crazy.
dude. But
it'd be like great grandpa Adam
was born.
made a podcast.
Made a podcast.
2018.
Oh, remember podcast?
That is really funny. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow, we're born in the turn of the century, dude.
Born in the turn of the century. Millennials.
Millennials.
That's where the term came from. Turn of the century.
We are a powerful group.
We are a powerful group. But anyways, I think in the 20s, the new 20s.
Anyway.
The new 20s, you're going to see this shift of, I think, a lot more people going out and trying to be more personable and outgoing with people as far as in real life is concerned. Because I think we've kind of reached that point where, like, okay, we have social media. We've all kind of adjusted to it. We know what it is. We know that it's not good to be on it all the time. So you're going to kind of feel the switch of people who use social media more as a tool than as a way to actually be connected with somebody.
Right. It would be more of a business platform.
More of a business platform, more for people to just kind of share with family and such of like, hey, for all of you guys who are in Minnesota right now, here's what I'm doing today, or here's the big thing I'm doing. Or people trying to reach out to others for help for somebody in need. You see that a lot with GoFundMes and Kickstarters, or people are trying to start. It's just become an advertising platform, but for everyone. We're in the age of independent entrepreneurs.
Yeah, everyone is their own agent now.
Yeah.
We're all free agents.
Everybody's trying to make a brand for themselves. And like I said, in the future, you'll still have your mathematicians, your engineers, because you need them. You'll still have your doctors. But really the majority...
Gotta have the engineers. How will we live without the engineers?
Exactly. But the majority of people are either going to be... I'm going to use the term celebrity, but I'm using that term very loosely. I think that's
loose celebrity.
A loose celebrity.
That's what we are, Adam. We're just loose celebrities.
Loose celebrities, but
hardly.
You're hardly celebrities. But you're either going to be a celebrity or you're going to be working for one of them. So it's like these big brands on the internet.
I can totally live with that.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
It's like these big brands you see on the internet now, these internet personalities or these streaming services. You're either going to be one of those or you're going to work for one of those.
And that's just what the whole world's going to be?
I think a great majority of it, yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Especially as things become more automated and you don't need real.
And we still get to eat dinner every day and drive a car.
Of course. You still do all of those.
Yeah,
things.
dude, I'm totally down. I'm down for that world.
I just think as the world gets more automated and there's people, everybody's like, oh, people are going to lose jobs. People will lose jobs at first, but just...
There's a politician for you. Yes, people may lose jobs at first, but
that's just the way it naturally happens, though. You know, when more of these jobs become automated and people lose their jobs because of it, it's not that the number of jobs that you can have will go away. They're just going to switch to something else. Oh, well, we need a social media expert for this company, or we need a film person for this, or somebody who can do this. The film industry alone, dude, there's still electricians that work in the film industry that solely just do that stuff.
We need all those people for our company. Everything you just listed.
Eventually we will.
We are on the lookout.
Absolutely. Companies have their own doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. You're either going to be the head of one of those companies, you're going to be working for one of them. The majority of people.
Well, yeah, that's what it is already, isn't it? It's just the kind of company will
Not
change.
quite, but it's getting there. I think when you start seeing more things like for example, when you McDonald's has a coffee shop in Phoenix, right? That's or not a coffee shop, a McDonald's in
Yeah.
Phoenix that's completely automated. There's no people. The only people there are the ones who are making sure the machines are working properly. And there's like 4 of them.
Ooh.
But you can literally go to a kiosk, you write what it is you want, and then it's made for you by robots.
They probably do a damn good job.
And then-
I bet the
yeah.
robots make a better burger than the humans
Guess what? There's
because
no-
they never get tired of making burgers.
So when more places start doing that, well, it's going to free up a lot of people's time to work on their own branding or find companies
honestly,
like
shouldn't
us.
people be kind of excited about that? Like, I know it's scary, but wouldn't you rather service the robot than make hamburgers all day?
Well,
no one wants to fucking make hamburgers all day.
It's exciting for people like me who knows it's not going to be the end all be all, but there are people out there who think that once you automate all these jobs, that it is going to be the end all be all.
Well, and also you're automating jobs, not
Yes.
careers.
Yeah.
Like, so all the entry level things that are minimum wage jobs anyway,
Mm-hmm.
okay, should you really be aspiring to be a minimum wage worker forever?
Right.
Not probably, right? That's not like the most amazing goal that a person can set.
No.
So let the robots have those for their whole life, and then we can aspire to be better things.
Yeah. Well, and as far as these, using fast food as an example, even if you had all the fast food places that were automated, doesn't mean they're still going to need people higher up on the ladder to manage these places. It's just going to be a different form of managing.
Well, and the rich people who own these companies, at some point, I mean, they're not completely stupid. They're going to know that if they don't employ people and give them money, then people can't buy hamburgers from them.
Right.
So robots aren't going to buy your hamburgers. So you have to employ people at some point.
Exactly. So, but that's my point, though. That's why I don't think that, the number of jobs is going to go away. They're just going to turn into something else. There's just going to be new, different kind of jobs that come out of an automated society.
And I feel like you've already seen it happen.
Yeah,
You know?
you're watching it gradually happen. I think you're going to see a spike of it in the 20s.
You used to have to hire, if you had a farm, like a huge farm, you'd
Right.
have to hire 100 people to go out and chop all the hay or whatever, cut all the corn down.
Now
and then
they
they
have
invented
robots that will do that.
Well, they
yeah.
invented a machine that you drive and one person can plow the whole field.
Yeah,
Now a lot of people lost their jobs when that came out.
but look at all the new
But
jobs.
they
that exist
became
now.
different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they service the plows. Now
exactly.
So
And
it's
you're
not
right.
the end of the world.
And you're right. It causes hard times for the people who do lose their jobs. When that happens, there are horrible things that can happen because of that, and it sucks. But you have to look at human history and just know that's just the natural progression of things.
Yeah, as technology gets better.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting you say that. I heard that, so back in the caveman days, okay, one person had one human power. How there's horsepower, in the cars. So literally if you have 100 horsepower, it means that's the power of, if you tied 100 horses together and told them all to run at once, that's how much power you get.
Right.
So back in caveman days, when there was no technology, it was just us and our hands, we had one human power. Now we have something like 2,000 or 20,000 human power to one actual person.
Yeah.
Because we have so much technology and so much help and communication and healthcare things have gotten better. And
Right.
So we're up to I don't remember if it was 2,000 or 20,000 human beings in every one person,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
It's amazing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And that's why people need to. It's we want things to be automated, guys. And Matthew and I have talked about it a lot, also, and we don't think AI is going to become dangerous at all.
Oh, I really don't. I don't
really
think it ever
don't.
will.
The only way it's going to become dangerous is if a human dictates it to become dangerous.
Well, I can tell you right now my reasoning that I don't think it'll be dangerous.
Okay.
So robots can do really, really complicated algorithms very quickly. That's
Right.
what they are good at. They're computing devices.
Uh-huh.
But what they cannot do very quickly is something simple, like opening a door.
Right.
The act of opening a door or stepping over a barrier or walking downstairs. That it blows the mind of a computer. You can't do it. But it can tell you.
And just so you guys know, it's so difficult to where I believe, I want to say it was Hanson Robotics was the one who put out this I could be wrong about that, but they put out a contest of the first robot that could open a door on its own.
And it was a bitch. I think 1 or 2 groups actually got it to do it.
I think it was only one actually, and it was that I can't remember the company, but they have like that dog. It's a weird robotic
it's on
dog.
4 legs. Yeah. So it can tell you, you know, how long it will take you to walk to the moon and back in half a second, but it can't open a door.
Right.
So I don't think that it'll ever, in our lifetime for sure, get to a dangerous point.
I was just going to mention that too. If it ever did, because it's not saying it's not possible for a machine at one point to become so intelligent, becomes cognate, but guys, that's not something that's happening in the next 50 years. That's something that's happening in hundreds of years.
You know, it is very fascinating. The third millennial, Justin, actually got into a kick of this for a while. We were looking up videos, and you guys can go on YouTube and check this out too, of different artificial intelligence programs. Mm-hmm. And there's some pretty complex ones that have been created now. And they actually, it's so complex now that they take this program and they put it inside of like a mannequin, like an actual robot.
Oh, I've seen those. They're so robot creepy. Can move.
It has facial expressions, and then it has this quote unquote thought. And the thought is just
what's the one right now? Sophia?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a few of them, and what's fascinating, guys, is every time these robots talk, you know, they'll be interviewed and they'll get to talking. It's never at first. It's never halfway through. But about 3/4 of the way through the conversation, after a couple hours, all of these programs come around to talking about destroying humans.
Yeah.
Every one of them. They'll say something like, hey, wouldn't it be interesting if the robots conquered all the humans?
Yeah.
It would be so easy to do. It would only take us 37 hours. Mm-hmm. And then they'll be like, I love the color orange. Isn't the moon made of cheese? Like, but all of them come around to talking about destroying the humans. And you have to realize, guys, these computers aren't actually thinking and having thought. They have these enormous database of all these different thoughts, and they can go onto the internet and look up what people are looking up. And they take all of that information and they compile it in an algorithm, and it comes out with an answer.
And because humans are the biggest advocates
of taking over humans, the robots have a lot of that information to find out in the world. So they come around to it.
Plus, with how much science fiction and conversation is around AI and AI taking over the human race, it's only natural for them to access that at some point from the internet.
They're going to find it because it's just one instance leads to another. It's a bunch of webs going on.
And that's what people have to understand too. You have these, now mind you, young, dumb, and full of opinions here. I don't know anything. We just discussed yesterday how bad I am at math, okay? So I'm not pretending to understand the mechanics of AI. But what I'm seeing from these different AIs and how they reach that conclusion eventually is really what it is just this. There was a thing called I think a Clever Bot from Google where you like would type in something and it would give you a response.
Oh yeah.
But it took the responses from other responses.
I know what you're talking about. I think that's still a thing.
Yeah, I think it's still a thing also. But so you have to remember when you're having these quote unquote conversations with these machines and they get to the point of talking about taking over humans or whatnot, or even just what you said, I like the color orange, the moon's made of cheese.
Yeah.
These are not cognitive thoughts that these machines are having, guys. They're just from a database of like, this is the best way to respond to this question.
Absolutely.
And so now if they were cognitive and one had the thought of let's kill humans, well, there you go. Now you can be a little worried. But right now, these are all just taken from a fucking database.
It's also just very interesting that they don't all talk about the moon being made out of cheese.
Yeah.
But every one of them talk about taking over the humans at some point. And it's never the first thing. It always takes them a little while to get there.
Right. But I think that's only because it's such a hot topic.
It's just, it's easy to make conspiracy theories
Yeah,
about it.
what you're seeing with these AI is the illusion of conversation, not actually conversation.
But it is amazing, guys. And
is.
who knows where it could go.
Yeah.
They have come a long way in just the last few years, man.
Yeah, and I believe with that technology, that's how you'll get kind of the automated workers who are able to be like, oh, I want a double cheeseburger. Okay, would you like pickles with that? They'll go into a database and be like, okay, when they ask for a cheeseburger, what are some of the things I could ask them about afterwards? You know, and they'll be programmed to upsell.
And these are supercomputers, dude. They have everything.
But again, it's
world.
just going to be the illusion of conversation, not actual conversation. But you're going to have advocate groups out there that aren't going to be able to tell the difference and say, we need to stop mistreating robots. They can't fucking feel. They're robots. Calm down.
Dude, I don't think that, and not even in our lifetime, I truly don't think that ever will we get a computerized system that can do what the brain can do.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, guys, I'm not a scientist, but go do some research on the brain and the computing power of the brain, of what it can do in just 1 second. The amount of information that your brain takes in a 1 second period is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Not even a supercomputer can do it, dude.
Guys, and that was what convinced me also that it's not going to happen. That's not going to convince me of that.
And we live whole lifetimes. That's just 1 second is more computing power than it can do.
Yeah.
We take, thousands, hundreds of thousands of seconds each day.
Yes.
And then we can refer to those in memories. It's astronomical.
I mean,
dude.
guys, just think about the resting thoughts you have. If you're just laying in bed trying to sleep, like your mind never shuts off. We even fucking dream while you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. I mean, But
you're thinking while you're breathing, while your heart's pounding, while you're also talking about being hungry. Mm-hmm. You're thinking about furthering your life and your friends tomorrow.
Maybe you're hiding things.
Try to bring up that many screens on an internet browser all at once.
Yeah.
And tell me your computer doesn't slow way down.
Yeah.
There's no way it can do it.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy for it. Yeah, dude, I don't think we have to worry about AI. AI is literally going to be a tool for the humans. It's not going to be an end-all, be-all for the humans.
Absolutely, I agree.
By any means. But, wow, that was a long... AI wasn't even on our subject list
I didn't even mean to talk about that
today. What we got into here? Actually, but before we get into anything else, I want to talk about an article that I read today.
Adam read an article, guys.
It was... And this just kind of goes back with millennials. So I read something about millennials and sex.
Oh, I'm interested already.
And
I don't know what this is, by the way, guys. First time I'm hearing it.
So it was talking about how millennials, I guess, so I read a few, I got kind of stuck in a hole where I read a few articles about this.
Okay.
And basically the general consensus about millennials and sex is that millennials aren't having a lot of it.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And
you don't say.
You don't say. And they're trying to, and there's experts out there that are trying to figure out, why aren't they having sex? And I don't know, I guess I just thought that was interesting.
I can tell you why right now. My theory.
Go for it.
They're afraid of it. Millennials are afraid of everything. I've never seen a more anxiety-ridden generation in my entire life. They're terrified.
That was actually one of the theories that was brought up in one of these articles was just that there's too much pressure with sex.
Pressure to reproduce and keep the species going.
Too much pressure to like underperform, or the way that somebody put it was because of millennials growing up in a society that was very over-sexualized, it's only natural for us to bring down the heat, is the term they used it, as we got older.
Well, I mean, you really don't have to have sex anymore. You have like everything you could possibly think of is on your phone at any second.
And that was another thing they brought up. And that was also why the fear of underperforming was evolved, is because now there's porn out there and there's people growing up saying, this is how sex is supposed to be.
Oh, by the way, guys, it's not.
No.
If you think that's what's really going on, oh, wow. You're in for a heck of a surprise. Yeah. It's not like that.
For our virgins out there. But... another thing that was said about it was that we millennials are more likely to do things like sexting than actually going out there and like having sex. So basically, they were just
see
saying that
that.
hookup culture is dead with millennials.
There's no more booty call. That's
No
not a thing
more.
anymore.
I think it is a thing, but just not as common as it was for maybe previous generations, is what they were getting at.
Really?
Yeah.
In my day, I mean, the booty call reigned supreme. That's
Well,
everyone was either putting them out or attending to one at any
I
moment.
think maybe when we were younger, and maybe honestly, as I was reading it, I was like, I feel like this might apply more to like a Generation Z thing more than just millennials. Maybe it has gone down with millennials. They specifically said people between 25 and 38, which I guess is
That's
the
us.
millennial range. Yeah, but
I mean, not quite. I'm only like 21.
right.
So, I have a ways to get there.
But I mean, I get that though too. I've never felt the need anymore to like go to a bar to pick up a girl or anything like that. Like, and I feel like that was a big culture within like Generation X and baby boomers. That's a lot of how you did it. Yeah,
I've always been a lady killer, man.
it's
I
very
love the ladies. I love them. They're great.
well, and I feel like people like you and I if we find ourselves in a position to approach a girl, we'll do it and we'll be very outgoing about it and such. But I think that we are definitely the first generation, I think, to like chill out a little bit. It's also very common within millennials to meet somebody over the internet.
I've never done that.
No?
I've never met an internet girlfriend.
I've had a few girlfriends that I've met over the internet. Like I've like, not that our relationship was solely over the internet.
But you met
like,
them
yeah,
on
yeah,
social
yeah.
media.
But we met them because of Facebook or Instagram, or even one of my first girlfriends was over MySpace even.
Oh,
But, yeah.
MySpace.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just thought that was
remember that.
interesting. I don't know how accurate it is or exactly how they got those statistics that millennials are having less sex. But then again, I don't really know how to compare because it's not like I'm going to go to all the Gen Xers and baby boomers and ask them about their sex lives either, But
It seems like just as many people are in relationships. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of single people running around.
that was actually something they mentioned. It's not that we're not in relationships, is that we hit those points later in life now.
Which makes them more meaningful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I think more meaningful, and I think it also has to do, honestly, with just like life expectancy. I think you get to, not that it's like jumped crazy since the baby boomers to millennials, but I think you kind of reach this point to where we millennials have this thought process of, well, if I'm going to marry somebody and be with them for the next, 30, 40 plus years of my life, there's no real reason to rush into it at 25.
Right.
Not that, and I have plenty of friends who did get married in their mid 20s, but I also have friends who didn't get married or even meet the person that they were going to marry until their late 20s, or some of them even their early 30s.
Well, think back to like your first love or first girlfriend that was
Mm-hmm.
serious or whatever. Do you think that you guys would have done better or lasted longer if you met her now rather than meeting her most likely in high school or right after?
Like assuming personalities like never changed kind of thing?
Yeah, like same thing, but just you have the access to the things in your life you have now.
Right. I don't know. That's kind of a hard question to answer just because, I think, no, I think it would be different. I think, like, speaking now, I don't think there's an issue with finding somebody over online, that you connect with or, want to be with. But I think it's just important to make sure that even though you guys are talking a lot online, that there's still that interaction that you're having in person. Because
Right.
I have definitely been, I've had a couple girlfriends in the past that were big texters. And don't get me wrong, this is something I struggle with also. I should definitely make more of an effort to call people more often. But even when you're in relationships, there are a lot of relationships that run off of, texting and stuff like that a lot. And unfortunately, when you're in a relationship, to really connect with people, you need to make sure you talk to them in person, because we already know that who somebody is over text or internet is very different than who you are in a
Oh,
real
you don't get any of the
person.
body language or anything.
Yeah, so if I'm having a conversation with you over text message, or better yet, I'll use an example from real life. There was a point a few months ago where my brother texted me, and we started to kind of go through a conversation, And I got to this point where I was like, I'm just going to call him. And I called him and, talked to him for an hour about stuff
See
that would have
that?
taken us 6 hours to get through over text message. Plus, what happens over text message? Somebody sends a text and you have the option to sit there and look at your phone for an hour and think of the best response to give.
Or you can delete it if it's not quite right.
And when you do that, well, I'm not getting a genuine response from my girlfriend then, or a genuine response from Matthew or my brother. You're getting, I had to think about this for a little bit and think of the best answer. So, and when you constantly do that back and forth, well, you don't really know that person, do you?
That's very
You
true.
know how you know everything that they want you to know about them. And sometimes those aren't the best things and sometimes those aren't the worst things. But it's not genuine. It's not real.
That's very interesting insight, actually. I mean, it's kind of that spur of the moment, having to say something quickly that
Yeah.
you get to see like what they really think.
Yeah, exactly. It's how
I
you
know-
get to. I mean, look at even just any of the conversations we've had over podcasts before. If you and I started any of these conversations over a text message thread to each other, we would never get through everything.
Oh, no way.
And look,
This
and
would take all day.
and we're able to sit here and I'm able to talk, consistently for a minute while you listen and then vice versa. Whereas in text message, you're like, well, you don't want to constantly give somebody an essay to fucking read,
Right.
you know?
I know that I had, believe it or not, it's going to be hard to believe, I actually had a high school sweetheart.
What?
I know, it's crazy. I had a few to choose from, but I picked one. And she's great, she's cool. But at the time in high school, like I didn't start driving until I was like 21.
Right.
Okay, I was a late bloomer for a lot of things in life. I didn't start working until I was like 17, so I was always a little later than everyone else. And I think that if I would have met that same person or had a connection like that with someone at this stage of my life where I drive, I can get to that person. The high school sweetheart at the time lived like across town from me. So we
Right.
only really got to see each other at school. And it was cool, but it would have been nice to have a little more access to like adult things. You know what I
see
mean?
what you mean, yeah.
So that's kind of what I meant when I said, like, if you could meet your first sweetheart again now, do you think you would have lasted longer? I think it's better to wait till later in life.
Yeah, I think it's better to wait till later in life also. To answer your question that, I don't think it would have been too much different. And that's simply just specifically like my first love was during a time when I didn't really have a cell phone yet. I was in school, so I had to be around people. So it was just a much more different climate than it is right now. I will say on that note, in regards to about waiting until you're older, I think it's important though to have the relationships that we have, and my views on this have actually kind of changed recently in regards to relationships, because I used to be somebody who really was just like not that I didn't ever want to pursue anything, but it was just like I just kind of let whatever happen, which is fine. And there are people who get by just fine doing that. But I'm also somebody who it is my goal in life at some point where I would like to have a wife and kids and have a family and be able to do
Yeah.
that whole thing. And
Well, they better be into podcasting.
yeah, they better be the podcasting, right? But in order to get to that point, relationships are also practice. And the more relationships you're in, the more practice you have about being in a relationship and knowing like not only what you like or don't like in somebody, but also
I don't know if I totally
just-
agree. I think
Really?
that being in a lot of relationships desensitizes you and you take it more for granted when you're in one. I think if you are single for 3 or 4 years and then you get in a relationship, I think that's where clinginess comes from, is because you're
Okay.
just so enthusiastic about being in that relationship
Right.
that you really take it to heart. You put all your energy into it. Whereas if you have a different girlfriend every 2 months, it's just another girlfriend, whatever. I can get another one anytime. It totally desensitizes you to it.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily saying like have a specifically a girlfriend every 2 or 3 months. I think that's why it's important though, more so to like I wasn't a big person to the dating scene, right? I really had no interest in being like going up to a random girl and just seeing if they want to go on a random date with me, basically, right?
Right.
So, but like those are things that I feel like are, as I get older, are more important to do. One, because you're connecting with somebody, you're seeing, even if you guys don't work out relationship wise, you're still connecting with somebody new and going out with somebody
for
and doing
sure.
that. And then you also just kind of gain this aspect of like what you do or don't like in a significant other, what
When you build confidence.
Well, and it gives you red flags too of what to look out for. Like, oh, well, I've dated 3 girls in the past who talked about this and ended up being this. Not saying that all those things are going to be true.
Red flag, red flag.
Yeah, red flag, red flag. And you hear people talk about those all the time, right? But I just think it's, and what you were referring to as far as becoming like maybe bitter or cynical because you're constantly, or desensitized because you're constantly dating a lot of people. I think that all just comes down to perspective. You can either let it affect you in a negative way, or you can take something from each relationship and learn from it and try to apply it to the next one.
But they literally gave a person who tries a lot of relationships, they gave that a specific name. It's called a player. And they're not regarded very well.
Well, I've always thought of a player as somebody who just tries to get into girls' pants all the time, not necessarily trying to have a connection with somebody or a relationship with somebody.
Well, I mean, okay, Adam, you're not.
Isn't
Not
that what a
every
player
girl
is?
that you've ever approached is a girl that you just want to make a spiritual connection with.
I'm not saying it is.
Okay,
but
it
I'm-
all stems from sex in the beginning.
Well, I'm not saying it is. All I'm saying though is, but you refer to a player as somebody who finds themselves in a lot of relationships.
Situations. Let's change the word relationship for situation.
Okay, I refer to a player as somebody who's just trying to hook up with girls all the time, not looking for a relationship.
Just a quicker situation is all it is.
Okay, well then it's not a relationship though. It's just a hookup. People who are actively looking for constant hookups, I would call a player.
But there's no way to be in multiple relationships all the time and try to, because a relationship like that would mean 6 months to a year
Well,
at
no,
minimum.
of course not. And I'm not saying get into a relationship and then after 2-3 months be like, all right, well that was fun. Move on to the next one.
You would have to though, in order to test the waters in a lifetime. That's what you would have to do.
Well, let me try to word this in a different way then.
I'm not letting you off the leash on this one.
Okay.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is if you find yourself in a relationship, don't be scared to jump into it. Like, I think there are a lot of people out there who might meet somebody that they really like or they think they could potentially have a relationship with it, but they don't pursue it because A, they don't think they're ready for the relationship, so it makes them scared to jump into it, or B, they think like, oh, well, if I get with this person, I'm missing out on maybe other possibilities for something else, right?
I can relate to that.
So I'm
Yeah.
saying those thoughts, I think, hold people back from ever finding somebody who they really connect with. And instead, when those opportunities present themselves, you need to take advantage of them. And when you get into a relationship, somebody really
Interesting.
try at the relationship. But just going back to the desensitization thing, if the relationship does fizzle out after 3-4 months, maybe it won't fizzle out after a year. Who knows? But you take that relationship and you try to learn from it instead of just becoming bitter and cynical about the opposite sex because of it.
Okay.
And you see
I
that
can
all the
agree with
time.
that.
You'll have guys who complain that all girls are bitches, and you'll have girls who complain that all guys are assholes. And that's all bitterness
haters.
given, yeah.
Call man
But that's all bitterness built up from past relationships. Whereas I feel when you get out of a relationship, you have to take a learning experience from it.
It's a very glass half full approach.
Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of opinions in regards to relationships, but that's just how I feel they should be approached.
I've always murdered all of my exes.
Oh, fun.
In my head. In my
Okay.
head. Different ways too, not the same way for each one.
So you'd say you're somebody who's become bitter or cynical in regards to relationships?
I don't do a lot of relationships these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you actively try to stay away from it? Because that's the point I'm getting at.
So I actively focus my energy in different areas.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to avoid a relationship. It's just not on my top priority list.
Gotcha.
Is all. So if it were to happen, great. But I'm definitely not seeking it out.
So if an opportunity presented itself where you met a girl who you felt you connected with and you possibly could date, would you actively ensue to be in a relationship with that person? Or would you just think like, oh, well, I have too much going on right now. I'm going to focus on this other stuff instead?
2-part answer.
Okay.
First part, I would actively pursue it.
Okay.
Because I'm interested and I do like the fun, exciting feeling of meeting someone and connecting like that. Okay.
Okay.
So I would actively pursue it. Second part to the answer, I just so happen to be an individual who's extraordinarily good at burning bridges. So I would pursue it with the absolute intent of if at any moment I was no longer into it, I would just burn the bridge.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just cut the tie, dude.
I mean, I feel like that's not necessarily a bad thing. Better than just letting it drag on, while you're not into it. Better to just, I guess,
Well,
cut the
I
cord.
wasn't born that way. I developed into that. I used to do the drag on thing and see and try to keep it alive.
Right.
And then I just learned that it's a waste of time for me, at least.
It's honestly, I appreciate people more like you who do stuff like that than people who don't. And I have had girlfriends just break up with me suddenly in those kind of regards. And it hurts,
Well, it
it hurts
stings,
the opposite party, of course. But at the same time, it's like there's always, at least for me, there's always this slight appreciation of just like, thank you for not allowing this to drag on, because if it dragged on for another few months for that person, it's like it's just hurting that much more when you get there.
Right.
When you finally decide we're cutting the cord now.
Well, then it becomes a lie, because then
Yeah.
you had one thought, but you acted differently, and that's lying.
Yes, exactly.
So-
and that makes it hurt so much worse down the line. So
Well, it makes people think that they're stupid.
as
So I got lied
almost,
to.
as almost arguably fucked up as it might be, as what you said, burning bridges, there is, I think, a sense of appreciation there of somebody who doesn't just let a relationship drag on for the sake of the other person. Because now both of you are hurting.
You're both hurting. You've both wasted time. None of us are getting any younger. We're all getting
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
older. We're getting fatter. We're losing hair. If
And
you
that's-
don't string me along, let me go while I still got a full head of hair.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about these subjects, because hell, 5 years down the line, the subject could come up again, and we'll both have completely different viewpoints about it.
I would also like to note that these are two very single people talking about relationships
Oh,
here.
yes.
So maybe not the best place to find relationship advice.
We'll have guests on now at some point that are in relationships, but I would like to think that. I've definitely somebody who's been in quite a few relationships, and I have friends who are younger also, going back to kind of the millennial thing of when millennials are getting married and stuff like that compared to baby
Yeah.
boomers and Gen Xers, is I have friends who have gotten married at a younger age, and I have some friends, some just people I know, and there are some of them who are very happy in their marriage, and some of them who aren't. So it really is just all about perspective. And fuck, the people we meet down the line are just going to be people who share a lot of our same perspectives on things. That's how a lot of people find their sweetheart. But relationships are a very gray area, though. It's very interesting watching and hearing about people's relationships.
It's never what you think it's going to be, for
Never.
sure.
Ever.
Never.
But nothing really is, though, either.
All of my past relationships, I can look back and I just think, like, how did I end up with that person? I never thought I was going to be with that person.
Well, some of my longest lasting and most influential relationships that I've been in happened literally because I've had some relationships where it was like I was looking for a relationship, right? But I definitely have had some that just like came out of nowhere and hit me in the face. You just happen to decide to go out one night with somebody, and then while you're out there that night, you just happen to, come across somebody.
Random thought, because those happen to me sometimes. I have this disease. So you like to do a lot of painting. I've
Yeah.
seen you do a lot of painting in the past.
Yeah.
And they are interpretive, to say the least.
Yeah.
Very interpretive paintings. Have you ever gotten inspiration for a painting from a relationship?
I don't think so.
Really?
Or actually, no. I'll take that.
Have you had a muse? Someone
I-
who just inspires you?
Yes and no. People don't really inspire me. Situations inspire me. The way that I feel about something inspires me. So
Okay.
so there was one specific painting that I did that, and I don't want to go into like what the situation was that
Sure.
influenced the
Follow
painting.
your heart, man.
But like it ended up being this, like, I think you saw it. It was the one with like the white floating figure, and then next to it was like there was this red bloody
Oh, I know
floating
exactly
figure.
the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is one that was very influenced by a specific way I was feeling at the particular time because of something that had happened to me.
Interesting.
So yeah, so
But no one has ever, you've never been so fixated on a person that you want to like write a poem about them or,
no.
no.
My the and I don't think it's that somebody wouldn't be able to become a muse, but I'm somebody who also really has to know the skill that I'm working on well enough. So like painting, for example, painting is very much still something I'm learning how to do. So every painting I do isn't necessary. Sometimes there'll be a meaningful one in there, but most of them are just practicing a new skill. Of
Different techniques.
Yeah, like,
stuff.
oh, I haven't, I just watched 3 videos about how to blend acrylics. So I'm going to try to do a painting that deals with a lot of blending and a lot of things like that.
So it's truly just art for you. It's not like an express yourself thing.
For now. One thing I would say that I've probably been influenced a little more is piano, because I know how to play piano pretty
you're a
well.
pianist.
A pianist. But I know how to play piano pretty well. So there'll be times when I'm feeling something or somebody's influenced me to do something. Or what I like to do a lot, and I've done in the past, is once I get to know somebody, I try to write a song that mirrors that person's personality through my eyes.
Oh, I can't wait to hear my song.
Or how
You just dug yourself a hole by saying that to me.
One day, Matthew.
I better be the next one.
But so I've written a couple in the past for different people I've just known and, grown up with. And some of them I've written down and some of them haven't. So music, I do that more in because I know it
Okay.
better. But things like drawing or painting or stuff are skill sets I'm still learning. So everything I do in those fields is just about, how to do this. But once I'm able to develop
Maybe when you feel more
those-
comfortable, then you'll start to have these feelings and expressions come out.
Right,
Because you'll feel more
exactly.
confident in expressing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I've had a few people, you included, as well as my parents, have asked also for like paintings, and they all want paintings of.
I just want one specific one.
And I know you do. Yeah. And my mom wants a specific painting also. And there are things that I'm very willing to do and will do at some point. But it's also things that like, okay, well, I want to make sure I'm good at this skill and being able to do this and this.
On that note, real quick, because Adam's probably never going to do it for me. If anyone out there
How dare you?
wants to draw or paint me a picture of a well, like an old medieval looking stone well with like a wood cover on top of it and like a bucket, I'd appreciate that.
You'll get it one day from me.
Draw me some wells, guys.
It might be years down the line, but you'll get it. It'll be a surprise. It'll just be a surprise, Matthew. A pleasant surprise for
Well,
you.
it needs to happen before I'm too old because I want to get this well tattooed on me. This is going to be a tattoo well.
Oh, so you just want a tattoo designed for you then?
Well, but the depiction of a well is very special to me in
Right.
particular, so I would keep it as a painting as well.
Gotcha.
But yes, I would also want it tattooed on me.
Oh, well, there you go. Somebody design a tattoo for Matthew.
I'll get it done.
Meantime.
We'll vlog it.
He'll
It'll
get
be fun.
it done. But yeah, but that's how I've just always have viewed art and how I go about art specifically. But yeah.
Well, your art is inspiring to me. I do like it. We have some
thank
of it
you.
hanging in the Millennial household.
Yeah, you guys will actually see some of it in the vlogs and shit, But you'll see that I'm very much in the early stages of being any sort of skilled painter.
Oh,
It's
he's
just-
humble, folks. He's humble.
No, that's a very honest. I think most people who see it will agree with me. But
Oh my,
anyways,
Adam,
are we at
we've
time?
unfortunately
We are.
run out of time today. I was having so much fun with your art. We'll have to pick up here tomorrow. I have more to say about the art.
Okay, fair enough. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. We always appreciate any listeners we get. Again, please follow us on all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our Instagram following is going up quite a bit the past
You guys are
couple days.
killing it on Instagram, man.
Yeah, thank you so much,
We
guys.
appreciate that, guys.
You can still listen to this episode on SoundCloud. We'll always have the most recent episode and the 2 past on SoundCloud. We still have the GoFundMe up. and all that other fun stuff. So thank you so much for watching,
Share it with your friends, guys. Please. That's the best thing you can do for us.
Share with your friends, and just a quick sneak peek, we will have a vlog video up for you within the next week here. So look out for that.
You had to stay to the very end to hear that one.
Yes, sir.
That wasn't even planned.
It wasn't even planned, just happened. All right, guys, thank you so much. We love you all. Have a good day.
See you next time.